Hello everyone, welcome back to Allcarnews, and you join me here with the all-new Toyota Land Cruiser in the first edition specification. I've been driving this beast around for the past week, and I thoroughly have been enjoying it. It is incredibly comfortable, capable, and it just looks fantastic in this all-new body chassis design that we have here, especially in this first edition trim with some unique bits, which we'll get to in this video. But I'm going to tell you guys how I've been loving and or maybe not so loving this Land Cruiser over the course of this week. What's new, because there is loads of stuff to talk about here, and we're going to talk about all the fun unique features you're going to be getting with this first edition if you somehow are able to find one used, because we're already on the 2025 model year at this point on this vehicle, and we now have around 2 to 3-ish trims that you can pick from. So we'll talk about all that stuff in this video, but let's go dive in on this all new Toyota Land Cruiser. As we all used to know, there was a Land Cruiser here in the United States, and it was huge and pretty old. It was around for quite a long time and expensive, and had a V8 and was not so good on fuel economy. This is our all-new Land Cruiser here in the United States market, and this makes for a very long list of Toyota SUVs you can purchase now that are very off-road capable, from the all-new 4Runner, which is a little bit smaller than this Land Cruiser, of course, also the Sequoia TRD Pro we also have now, the Tundra, and even the Tacoma. Lots of stuff going on in the Toyota's brands lineup, and you can even get this as the Lexus GX as well, a little bit more luxe-upped. But for the rest of the world, this is not the Land Cruiser. This is the Land Cruiser Prado, the smaller Land Cruiser. And the rest of the world still gets that full-size Series 300 Land Cruiser that we do no longer get in the US market, because I don't think it would sell that well here. But we do get it as the Lexus LX. So it's a little bit complicated, but nonetheless, in the US, this is the Land Cruiser. Outside the US, this is the Land Cruiser Prado. Okay, so what do we have under the hood of this all-new Land Cruiser? No V8, no V6 will be found here in the United States market, but we have one powertrain option, and that is Toyota's iForce Max powertrain. So what is that, you may be asking? Well, this is a 2.4-liter port and direct injected turbocharged 4-cylinder engine mounted longitudinally, and it's paired with Toyota's tried and true hybrid system here. And this is around a 48 horsepower electric motor on the system here, but this whole hybrid system combined makes 326 horsepower and around 465-ish pound-feet of torque. Really strong numbers out of this powertrain system. And I have to say, I was a little bit nervous coming into this over the course of this week, because, you know, the GX can get the twin turbo V6, the LX has the same twin turbo V6, and same thing with the Land Cruiser Series 300, the full-size one that we don't get in the United States, that also has a twin turbo V6 on offer. So I was a little bit nervous about this powertrain, but after this week, I love it. It's a great powertrain. It sounds good, shockingly, actually. It sounds quite good. Even if you're like revving it, it has this little like raspy sound to it. Very strong on power. Even on the highway, you don't really feel slow in this vehicle, even though we're at 0 to 60s in the mid 7-second range. It's a pretty quick and peppy vehicle for around 5,600 pounds as it's coming in weighing. It can tow around 6,000 pounds. If you need more towing, the GX can tow around 9,000 pounds, for example. And because we have this 4-cylinder hybrid powertrain, the differentials and everything are actually a little bit smaller than what you're going to find on the GX, since that has a V6 and can tow more. Nonetheless, this has an 8-speed automatic transmission. Thankfully, no CVT or any nonsense there, and it's incredibly smooth. Again, no issues with that. We have locking differentials on this particular first edition model as well. So now it's time to talk design of the all-new Toyota Land Cruiser here in the United States, and this is a big, bold thing, because what things automakers don't do is offer two completely different design headlights on the exact same model, but that's exactly what Toyota did on this all-new Land Cruiser. On this particular first edition for 2024 and the base entry-level 1958 edition, we get these kind of cool retro-style circular LED headlights. They're very bright. They have a nice ring around them, LED light, and on this first edition model, we have these color-selectable fog lights over here from Ridge that are just awesome. You can have them either yellow or white, and you can select them on the go, which is really cool via a button inside. Otherwise, you can get the new Land Cruiser trim, which gets these rectangular, sleek, more modern, a little more high-tech, as Toyota says, headlights. So you have two totally different headlight choices, though. You can't get a first edition with those cool new rectangular headlights at all. But either this first edition or the entry-level 1958 got these really cool LEDs. Otherwise, Toyota has spent an incredibly long amount of time on the design of this vehicle, and I'm going to get into why. So up front here, we have a really nice, bold grille design, very reminiscent of Land Cruisers of the past. Toyota's heritage is really coming up here. Nice, bold Toyota badge here, and since we have the first edition model, we have full radar adaptive cruise control as part of Toyota's Safety Sense 3.0 system, so yes, it can essentially sort of drive itself as well, which is really cool. Nice, bold bumper design over here. We have some underbody protection under here, which is a really nice touch. Around 8.7 inches of ground clearance on this first edition model as well. And approach angles are okay-ish at around 31-ish degrees. The breakover angles around 25-ish, and I think around at the rear, not the best departure angle as well. So this isn't really winning in terms of approach departure angles, though I'm sure a lot of people are going to be modifying those to increase those numbers, but still pretty good in the off-road segment. Over here, we have a nice bold bumper design as well. A lot of plastic, which is probably going to get scratched up, but I think this is easy to replace, so that's not a big concern. Some passive aero over here for a little bit of some aid on the aerodynamics. Really bold, muscular hood design here that is sculpted specifically so you can see and have a nice commanding view over the road and kind of see all the different points on the hood as a driver to make sure you're getting all your angles right when you are in an off-roading scenario. So I do like that, and it just looks really cool as well as this whole overall boxy look on the all-new Land Cruiser design. Now coming over here to the tire front, this particular first edition is getting these really nice 18-inch black wheels. Very subtle, nothing too bold, nothing crazy, no beadlock capability we have on here. I think it's a nice clean wheel design. And this is wrapped around these Michelin LTX trail tires here. I think they're 265/70 R18s we have on these particular, and I think they're great on the road and for some light trail usage. Definitely not going to be a full off-road capable tire that I think you're going to want on this Land Cruiser. If you're really going to want to do some more intense off-roading, you're probably going to want to swap this tire out. I also want to point out on this first edition model, we got these really cool first edition mud flaps with this kind of strap on there, but as I've seen from other reviews, people are already removing these as they're getting caught and kind of torn on some stuff, so it's a nice visual, but I'm not sure how useful it is in practicality. Also on this new Land Cruiser First Edition, we're seeing some nice sturdy rock sliders over here, which could kind of act as a side step, but they're just too far in to actually kind of be useful for that. Now coming around to the rear of the all-new Toyota Land Cruiser, this is just another wonderful angle of this vehicle. I think visually it just looks great in person, and it's just so much bigger in person than it appears in photos. I really like these sleek LED taillights we have back here. Nothing crazy, it's just a nice, sleek, clean design, very boxy, staying true to that nice heritage. Very bold iForce Max badge here. Personally, I think I'd remove this if I got this vehicle, and honestly, maybe not the Land Cruiser badge. I like how it slims in with the Toyota logo up there and this blacked out trim. We have a nice bold bumper over here and this interestingly designed cover over here for our tow hitch area. Not too sure how I feel about this, but that's what you're going to be getting on the Land Cruiser. This first edition does get wonderful 360-degree view cameras and parking sensors around the vehicle as well. We also have a spare tire under here, as well as some recovery hooks mounted to the frame, so nice and sturdy down there. So that tire has actually been a point of contention already with some people and how it's placed. So the belief here is that it's a little bit lower. It's because the battery pack is right in this area over here. So they had to move the tire mounting a little bit lower, which might actually be a little bit of a detriment on some trails with your departure angle, which has a split tailgate design in terms of you can open the rear glass pretty easily on this Land Cruiser, which is a nice touch. So if you want to have some quick access to that, we can also quickly use our power tailgate here. So that's going to open up for us. Now we have this really nice powered tailgate over here, and this is another interesting point of the Land Cruiser. So yes, you can see there's a little bit of a lip we have here, and this is all that hybrid battery pack under this floor area over here. And also on this Land Cruiser in the US, we're not getting any third row option either. So you're only going to have around a 5-seater capacity in this vehicle, though that does mean you get an incredibly large amount of cargo space back here. As you can see, we're fitting a 60-inch TV in the back seats with the two second row folded down. Now, interestingly enough, I believe in other markets you can get a third row, and you can see there's cup holders actually for that third row space that are completely unusable in this vehicle because you can't get a third row in the US. So they left that there, and you can see there's USB-C ports actually in that back third row area, which is a little bit funny. But nonetheless, you still have a lot of capability, and without that third row, even with those second row folded up, you have a pretty large cargo space. It's just a really high load floor to get that stuff in because of this extended little floor over here, because of that battery pack, and just because this is a high vehicle off the ground as well. Otherwise, I think it's a pretty nice storage space and very useful in that sense. Now let's go take a tour of the rear seats of the all-new Toyota Land Cruiser here, and opening up the doors, we're going to notice that we have, thankfully, some doors that go pretty much all the way down. So this is going to prevent your legs getting dirty exiting and entering the vehicle if you're going off-road. It covers this portion over here, which is nice. So we're not going to get mud and stuff all over there. Checking out to see how wide the door opens. Not the best angle on the planet for kind of movability inside and out, but here is our interior here. Now keep in mind, this is a $76,000 vehicle, and I have to say I would like to see a nicer interior and door closing sound, but everything is built incredibly well, very high quality in general. I just would like to see a little bit nicer materials for this price point. I do like this first edition patch on the side over here and this grab handle over here. Everything, again, very, very solid, very high quality. We have cup holders, some speakers as part of our JBL audio system here as well. And let's hop inside. Now notice we do have this kind of rock slider over here, which I actually have hit my ankle on just a little bit getting in and out because there's such a high step up here. But we can see we have nice rubberized floor mats over here underneath the carpet. And here we have our full leather seats here, which do have a reclining function on both sides as well and fold completely flat. Let's hop inside now. Getting in, closing up the door, and here we are in the back of the all-new Land Cruiser. And I would say it's a pretty nice place to be. I would like to see a nice panoramic roof on this particular one, but I don't think that's the best thing for these Land Cruisers because you want to put some more stuff on the hood, on the roof versus glass. So this is a little bit more for support, but we do have a nice big kind of little sunroof up front there. On our door panels we saw, but thankfully we have a huge amount of glass. So you will feel like you're always in a commanding position no matter what seat you're sitting in the Land Cruiser. Nice grab handle over here, and our air vents are actually located right up here on our ceiling, which is a nice touch. And we have our own climate control screen right back here, as well as a USB-C port, 2 USB-C ports actually, and a socket back here to charge, which is a nice touch as well. No heated rear seats, even in this first edition model. Nice little Land Cruiser badge right there. And then the seats themselves are actually quite comfortable, very well supported, I think. Not the best thigh support as the floor is a little bit high. We also do have a pretty big hump in the center of the floor over here, but thankfully we do have cup holders still in this rear seats. 2 cup holders over here, and of course no third row in this particular Land Cruiser. It's not available in our market whatsoever. Even if there are cup holders and USB-C ports in the back seats, we don't get a third row in this market whatsoever. We do get some storage behind these front seats, which is a nice touch here, and I think it's overall a pretty nice place to be. I can definitely have my seat moved up just a little bit more, but generally legroom and headroom and knee room is actually quite good, even if the seat was pushed this far back if you had a really tall driver. So that's a nice thing to know. Otherwise, let's go hop up front and check out what's going on the front end of this all-new Land Cruiser's interior. Now let's go take a look at the front end of the Land Cruiser's interior here. We do have power folding mirrors here with a turn indicator on there. We have our cameras mounted in there. They're heated. Really nice mirrors, actually. And they're a little funky to get used to at first, but they definitely make sense with this vehicle's shape and size. Again, same treatment on the door panels over here. This is the black option for our first edition. There's also like this saddle leather tan option as well. We also have a memory seats up front, which is a nice touch here, and lots of power adjustment for the driver. The passenger does not get lumbar though, or this manual thigh extender here that we get on the driver's seat. These seats are actually quite comfortable. Actually, I really have had no issues or complaints over the course of this week. Very, very comfortable to sit in. Nice pattern and design going on them. Nothing too complicated, but I think they're quite nice seats. We have some rubber floor mats over here for some ruggedness, and let's hop inside. Pretty solid door thunk, though I think I'd like to be a little bit more solid, but that's really where a lot of my main complaints end with this Land Cruiser interior, because it's just such a perfect place to be. Let's power it on. Our steering wheel comes towards us. It is fully power adjustable, which is really nice in this first edition model. You can see our screen comes to life here. We have a dual 12.3-inch displays. Of course, the GX is going to get that giant 14-inch display unit over here, which we don't get at all in the Land Cruisers. And of course, if you go for the base Land Cruiser 1958, you're going to get a smaller infotainment screen, unfortunately, which isn't my favorite thing that they're doing, but for $53,000, I'd like to see this 12.3-inch screen be standard. But this first edition model is truly fully maxed load added out. There's every option on the planet up here, but regardless of Land Cruiser you're getting, you're going to get this fantastic driving position. You really can see all around you at all times, which I really like. I love that I can rest my hand on here and just kind of cruise around on the highway or on the roads. Really big windows. It's a wonderful driving position, and this is a huge plus you're going to get over something like the new 4Runner is the amount of headroom you have in this vehicle. You're going to sit higher, you're going to have a higher driving position, you're going to have that more command over the road, which I quite like. Now, for $76,000, is this interior really matching up to the money? No, but it is very functional, very useful, and build quality, regardless, is fantastic. This whole vehicle just screams and oozes quality. Not luxury, but high quality and high build quality, which is really nice. We have all of our button controls over here, fully automatic power mirrors, like I mentioned. On our left-hand side, we have our adjustable fog lights. We can change the colors. We can turn on our AC outlet. We have a trail brake controller as well in this particular one. Automatic high beams and all that stuff as well. We have nice manual vents over here and manual climate controls in our center console over here. So we can control our rear climate controls or all of our regular climate systems on this little screen. I like how it's separated from our infotainment cluster as well. It's really nice, really easy buttons to use. Heated steering wheel. We have our heated and ventilated front and driver and passenger seats, and a hazard light button right in the center over there. So really nice layout here. And the rest of this interior is very driver centric. So you can see all the controls are on the driver's side, very wrapped around the driver, which I quite like. Even with this volume knob, which looks a little bit out of place on this dash here, but it feels very nice and quality to use and turn around. Down here in the center console area over here, we have a wireless charging mat on this particular Land Cruiser First Edition model, our camera view button, as well as 3 USB-C ports, which is really nice as well. Here we're going to find our drive mode selector. So normally we're going to get 3 drive modes from Eco, Normal, and Sport. Those are your main core drive modes. The second you press your multi-terrain select over here, we're going to unlock deep snow, auto, dirt, sand, mud, and they're all going to have their own animations on your digital cluster, which is really cool. And what you can see is in certain modes, it's going to start turning off either traction control or forward collision warning. So all those little nannies aren't really going to be bothering you as much on the off-road setting. You can pop it right back into drive mode if you want to go back to your regular drive modes. We have a downhill crawl control assist as well. And of course, we have a center diff locker, rear diff locker, front stabilizer disconnect, as well as some more cool things when we put it into low range, for example. So let's pop into low range for a second, switch this down there, and you can see it turns off even more safety systems actually. So it knows when you're going low range, you're not going to want all that stuff kind of nagging you all the time, because it knows you're going to be in an off-road style environment. And it pops up this unique camera display here with loads of different angles. We have tilt meters, we have our parking sensors up there, and you can kind of scroll through so many different really cool camera systems that Toyota has implemented into this screen here for you and help when you're in an off-road case. So really like that stuff here for this system. Now, otherwise, I think this is a pretty well laid out interior ergonomically. I like the heads-up display here. It's not overwhelming. I like the digital rear view camera here. It's fantastic. It never really gets super dirty either. I really quite like that as well. And I like this screen's designs, though I have to say, and I've complained about this on some other new Toyota and Lexus products because it's a pretty similar software. It's just too much information packed into this display here. And you can't use any of it really when you're driving at all. And some of the things you might want to change while you're driving. So as you can see here, this is one of the many gauge cluster layouts you can use on this interior. You can cycle through a whole bunch by going left and right of your preset kind of home screen layouts. So you can kind of see all these different layouts we have here. Lots of different widgets and animated stuff you can put on here. But the second you press OK to change settings, this is where you're going to find all of your settings really. Well, once I get to the settings page, to control your driver safety system. So your heads-up display settings are up here, and that's going to show your lane departure assist, blind spot monitoring, pre-collision safety assist. This is a really one, the Toyota's proactive system. So this actually will enable a sort of like regen style system where it will, well, I'll just show it to you when we get in there. So it has something called speed assist. So it will slow down when it sees a vehicle in front of you, and it kind of uses that to regen the battery a little bit. We have parking sensors, rear cross traffic alert, rear collision detection with pedestrians and vehicles, side exit alert, road sign assist. There are so many different settings on this vehicle to go through. It's really, really intense. So definitely you're going to need to take your time to go through them, or just shut them all off if you don't want to have them on your Land Cruiser. So you can change the sensitivity of this proactive system, they call it. So you have speed assist, deceleration assist, and obstacle detection, which is a pretty cool system, but they can be a little intrusive if you're not a big fan of that. If you scroll all the way down, you finally will get to your vehicle and meter settings. So you can actually change a lot of fun things on this display if you do choose to do so, such as your meter style and type. I just wish it wasn't so insanely complicated to do this. So you can have this smart design. You could also have a casual design, and you can also have a tough, which we just had, as well as sporty. So lots of different cool gauges there, but we can also go even more in depth. We can go to meter types, so we could have a completely blank gauge where it's really just your screen, which I'm not a big fan of. I want to see a tachometer or a speedometer there. We could have our traditional style gauge set, and then we can go through and change those to be anything you want as well, the same designs, or that nice center cluster we have here in the sport design, for example. So lots of stuff, but you can't change any of this while you're driving. And there's just so many more settings baked into this system here that I just think is a little bit cluttered. I'd love for them to put this into the infotainment cluster here to kind of free up this space, because I think it's just a little bit too much going on up here. And just in general, with all the icons everywhere, this might be one of the most cluttered gauge clusters I've seen in the industry right now. There's just way too much information on here, even when I reduce it to be not so cluttered, which is pretty interesting. So I'd love for them to see that worked on in the future. Otherwise, this infotainment system, since everything's packed into that screen there, is pretty simple. You have your built-in Toyota navigation system, which is actually quite good. We do have a built-in music control, so we can have an audio as well. And we can even do some really cool stuff, like sign in to your Apple Music or Amazon Music in the vehicle. So you don't even need to have an iPhone to use some of that stuff in here, which is really cool. Of course, we have wireless CarPlay and Android Auto, our phone controls, and some minor vehicle controls in here. So we have a very basic off-road information display. This is all you can pretty much see on it, which is kind of cool. We also have some vehicle alert systems, which hasn't popped up anything, which is good. Our trip history and fuel economy, which isn't the best, but pretty good versus a GX, for example, and some more climate controls in here. So not too much. There's some fun things you can kind of get through in all the settings over time when you kind of spend some more time with the vehicle, such as in the vehicle customize. But other than that, it's a pretty easy system to use, and it's identical to what you're going to find in the GX, just on a bigger display. In the center console area over here, like I mentioned before, we also have 2 cup holders over here, a nice physical big shifter, which I really like, actually. And this is where you can access a manual mode if you do choose to use that. And in this nice leather stitched center console area over here, pop that open, we're going to find a cool box. So yes, this does have a cool box. It'll keep, I guess my sunglasses cold right now, but you can put whatever you want in there to keep cold. It takes up a little bit of space, but it's a little loud, actually. Not when closed, but when open, it's a little loud. But if you wanted to keep some beverages or something cool while off-roading, that's a nice little touch. Design-wise, again, pretty basic. We have this kind of soft touch material on the dash here. I did like this kind of like leather style material up here. I think it's leather. We have this interesting kind of cord through the dash up here, which wraps around. I haven't really seen that on any vehicle, but it's a little bit of an off-roady style touch. Nice big lockable glove box with 2 levels of storage in there, which is quite nice. Doesn't appear to be any illumination though in there. That locks up pretty well. Other than that, there's actually illumination in there. Almost forgot. Not too much going on here. We have our controls for our moonroof. We have our sunshades, which are quite nice, and some controls up here for some other stuff. And that's about wrapping up our interior for this all-new Land Cruiser. So we're actually, I'm going to do a real fun test here. We are in EV mode right now. There's no button for EV mode anywhere, but as long as you keep your foot really gentle on the throttle, it will stick in EV mode. I'm also going to pop it in Eco for fun. A little bit more fuel economy here, but as you can see, we have this really cool gauges up here called Max. So this is going to show our battery status and hybrid powertrain. The second I start giving it more throttle, it's going to kick the engine on very seamlessly. There's no vibrations, harshness, or interruptions to turn the engine on in this vehicle whatsoever. It's incredibly smooth thanks to this hybrid system we have here. And really everything works just so well in this car. Everything's very, very quick. It feels very high quality. Very solid in here. All the screens work well. Love the physical buttons. So off to a great start off the bat here on this new Land Cruiser. And the ride in this car is just phenomenal on the road. Toyota definitely spent a significant amount of time on stabilizing and really just making this body-on-frame chassis as quiet as possible. But around town, it's incredibly smooth. We're actually driving in eco mode right now. It turns off the engine before you even come to a stop in eco mode. It's really, really efficient. It's almost like the German 48-volt hybrid systems in terms of its smoothness, even though this is a regular style hybrid system, not that kind of variant here. Steering is really great, precise. I love the steering wheel. It has a nice thin rim. Nice turning indicator sound as well. And when you come to a stop with your automatic cameras turned on, it will pop them up for you. And you're going to notice it's going to see traffic coming. So it's going to give you arrows telling you there's cross traffic coming. So really love that feature. That also appears in your heads-up display. That'll also do for rear cross traffic as well. Definitely a wonderful safety feature on this vehicle. And this front screen here actually has this kind of like coating on it, or the display technology. It's really interesting. So it's designed to reduce glare. And if you're sitting in the passenger seat, for example, you cannot see the screen whatsoever. It is completely blacked out for some reason. I guess how they kind of did the coating on there. Insane. A truly insane amount of safety systems you get on this vehicle. And you know, I mentioned this in the full touring review for you guys. Sometimes that's a good thing. You know, if you're driving around a vehicle that makes so much sense in like a Lexus RX, a Lexus TX, a Toyota Grand Highlander, or RAV4, a lot of family style vehicles. And this is definitely a family vehicle, but if you're a more off-road focused enthusiast purchasing this new Land Cruiser and you want the fully loaded one, you're going to be having all of these safety systems that you're going to have to go into these menus and disable. Thankfully, in some certain settings, such as low range and some other off-road modes, it will disable certain systems. But if you really want a kind of hassle-free off-road experience with things beeping at you, with not things beeping at you, you're going to have to start turning off things. And that's where I think a main competitor, the Fender, does a much better job at having a little button on the steering wheel that can turn off everything or set it to medium or low sensitivity, which I think Toyota should look into, just in terms of going into like those off-road style scenarios. Okay, let's go see how the Land Cruiser accelerates out here onto the highway. Let's pop it into one of our drive modes. We have Sport, Normal, and Eco on our main core drive mode settings here. Car is nice and warmed up on this freezing morning. I have to say, acceleration is not the quickest, obviously. It is just a off-roading, comfortable SUV, but it does get up to speed pretty well. It feels very almost diesel-like in its amount of torque delivery. There's so much torque here with the turbocharged 4-cylinder and this hybrid system combined that you really do get a lot of strong instant torque off the line, which I quite like, especially out here getting onto the highway or just in and around town situations. It's pretty nice and peppy. Out here on the highway, we also have some other wonderful systems such as Toyota's Safety Sense 3.0, and that's going to be combining this driving monitor up here with a whole bunch of all your sensors and cameras and radar to give you adaptive cruise, and in low speed situations with traffic jam assist. It's pretty simple to kick on and activate too. All you really do have to press is your cruise control button and your adaptive cruise control is on. It says make sure to pay attention to other vehicles. It has pretty good steering and lane keep assist as well, though this is not a hands-free system unless you are in the traffic assistant mode, which is under like 25 miles per hour. That is when it becomes hands-free, so you do have to have your hands on the wheel, but it does work quite well. It does actually have some other fun features like lane change assist. So if you just tap on this blinker a little bit, it's gonna check for a lane, you check your surroundings, and look at that, it's now changing lanes for me in a Land Cruiser. It's pretty cool. Not many vehicles in this class can do things like that. Let's have a little demo here of looking at those screens. Pay attention to see what's happening there. So we're seeing some battery come in, some boost pressure is now kicking on, and as we get higher in the rev range, that battery boost dissipates and the turbo keeps building until it starts falling off a little bit. So it's really cool to see how this battery in the hybrid system almost acts as a sort of torque boost, but also torque fill for the turbo to kind of eliminate turbo lag in a sense. So as you can see now, we are in some traffic, and we actually have our Toyota Traffic Jam Assist on here, so you can get it indicated by that cool little icon there. It does need to see my face in order for this to work though, but the Traffic Jam Assist works perfectly well. This is when you can actually take your hands off the wheel as long as you're staying and looking forward, but always have them ready, as the second you hit around 25 mph miles per hour, you need to take over once again. You should have that. With this proactive safety assist system we currently have turned on, you can't deactivate it. It actually will come to or it'll start bringing you to a stop even ahead of the vehicle in front of you. It's almost like you have adaptive cruise control always on, but it's only on the deceleration part, not keeping your speed maintained at a certain speed, which is really, really quite nice, actually, of a system in and around traffic situations. Otherwise, you know, I really have enjoyed this Land Cruiser over the course of this week. Yes, this first edition is no longer available for the 2025 model year, but you have two options, the 1958 and the Land Cruiser trims. I would personally either go with the Land Cruiser or a very high option to 1958. I know the pricing is a little bit on the higher end of the mid to high 50s and the $60,000 range, but this is a fantastic vehicle. There are lots of fun looks from a lot of people on the roads. This is a pretty bold color combo, and I don't want to give it back. I actually really, really love driving this thing. I love the driving position. It gives you a really great commanding view of the road. It's so comfortable to drive. It's so easy to drive. And I've been kind of liking this hybrid system. Yeah, it's not getting the best fuel economy, but it works. And it's such a smooth powertrain that I just enjoy driving it. So Toyota, you guys knocked it out of the ballpark on this one. I'm really impressed. And I'm now excited to drive the GX, hopefully at some point, to see how big of the differences are between the two SUVs. As always, guys, stay tuned for more coming on Allcarnews. And as always, see you then. Cheers.